The Toyota with the 350 gas engine that we put in it. A couple people asked for more of a detailed video on it, so I figured I'd give it. Let me pop the hood and I can show you around inside. Switches for the off-road light, Chevy speedometer, but all the gauges work, and I'll show you basically what we did. Okay, here's the 350, and I guess I'll just walk through what I did. On this end, there's you can see down under where those spark plug wires run, there's a temperature sensor from the Chevy engine, but it's the wrong resistance for the Toyota gauge. So what I ended up doing is right here, I got a Chevy thermostat housing with threads in it, and then I bought a plug that was the right pipe thread for that. Took it to the machine shop, had them drill out the plug and tap in metric threads for the Toyota sender. And so that yellow wire there is the Toyota sender. The green comes actually from the ignition power and runs the electric choke on the Edelbrock carb. The wiring that I took from the inside comes right out here. This is from the ECU. There's just a couple wires I used. One, I routed down this conduit over here to the resistor for the coil. And from there you can see there's a yellow wire and a green wire and a pink wire running into the positive side. The yellow, oh no, I'm sorry, the yellow is not from the positive side. The yellow comes from the harness. I just bundled that in. The yellow with the red stripe is the temperature sender for the coolant. The green I just tapped in there for the choke, for the electric choke. The pink is what came out from this end, and the pink is actually spliced in, I think it's black and red, is the ignition coil wire. And then there's the coil resistor. You can see behind that a ground mount which runs down to the engine, and on the other side of the resistor, this port here comes down and gives power to the coil. The coil is is triggered from an old distributor back there. It's just a regular little distributor from the 70s or whatever. So that gives me power for ignition, coolant temperature sender, and electric choke. The only other wire that I pulled from the harness comes over here and runs down to the oil pressure sender, and I don't remember the color of that one. So that gives me oil pressure, coolant temperature, and ignition. Those, I think, are the only three wires that I took from that harness coming right out over there. Everything else I left, the power to the windshield washer fluid and voltage meter and all that kind of stuff. The voltage meter sender, oh, that comes from here. Because it's a Chevy alternator, I did splice that in as well. To the light, emergency light. I used there's my wiring, there's my sensor for the cooling fan. Here's the cooling fan setup that I did. Because the 350 gets so close to the front, I couldn't have a fan motor there, so I had to do 4 small fans, and I made a little black housing you can see there that seals off those 4 fans to the radiator. And there's the radiator down in there. I'll see if I can get a little wider shot. There we go. I have 2 relays on that housing, and both of them are triggered by the controller, but then run 2 fans each. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to show. Ran dual batteries. There's the jumper cable going across. And tried to keep everything really nice and tight. either zip tied into wire looms or whatever. The exhaust is just a little tight log type, and you can see on this side to clear steering that had to get dented in. Not ideal, but it is what it is. There's a small exhaust leak you'll hear once it starts up, which is a bummer. But that's basically what I did. Here's starting it up. Oops. Hey, do you have the key? Where did they? Oh, I'm sitting on it. Okay, here's starting it up. You can see oil pressure, seatbelt light, and wait a second. I don't remember what this light is. Let me turn the radio off. Anyway, you can hear a little chugging from the exhaust leak that's in there, but responds really well. This camera cannot focus to save its life. There we go. You can hear just a little bit of a leak. But that's that. Hey, let's take it for a quick drive. Definitely a quick truck. Let's see. Spun the wheels a little bit there. I'm pretty sure my speedometer is off. Just doesn't feel right, and I'm always the fastest one in traffic, so that's probably not an accurate acceleration video. There's someone with a fun truck. But yeah, it's easy to light up the back tires around turns and stuff. Definitely has got a lot of power for a little truck like this. Still warming up. The temperature gauge usually sits just down from probably halfway between where it is now and halfway is where it'll settle, and I've never seen it budge above that. It just sits nice and I guess right where it should be. Shot a temperature gauge at the engine and it says about 198, I think, is about where it sits. It'll cool down to 195 up to 200, but that's about the range it sits. So that's the rig.